always say it's an honor to be here, but this is truly an honor to be invited to participate today and to follow such a distinguished speaker. I mean that sincerely. Thank you. Governor, it's a pleasure to see you again, and Mr. Mayor, thank you for the passport into Philadelphia, and all the distinguished guests. I was contemplating when I had the flattered to be asked to quote keynote, and I will not be a long keynote. I was contemplating what I should talk about, and I thought about what I think is a fundamental question. What does this museum intend to stand for? Is it were our founders who lived the revolution, who gave their lives for the revolution? What were they attempting to do? What did they stand for? I think it's important that we answer that question because it's as relevant today as it was then. To paraphrase Emerson's poem, what did the people hear when they heard that shot heard around the world? What was it that they heard? What was this experiment about? Was it just about independence? A revolution for independence? I think it was about an idea. How to give life to a Renaissance idea that a country could actually be governed by its people, all of its people, its wealthy people, its poor people, its people who could read, who couldn't read, educated, uneducated. The revolutionary notion of the consent of the governed. It seems to me that's ultimately why they say America was an idea. The idea that people could govern themselves. Not a monarchy, not a governmental system that conferred power on the elite or the military or only the educated. An idea that ordinary people could do extraordinary things given half a chance. It truly was a revolutionary idea. An idea that both startled and at the same time gave hope to the rest of the world. It's an American idea that I still think gives hope to the rest of the world. I have traveled to almost every country in the world. In the last 40 years, I've met every major world leader without exception. Why do they look at us the way they do? Why are we still the most respected nation in the world? With all our faults and all the mistakes we've made, our principles, our founders, seems to me, they asserted, which has been referenced already, again, what was a revolutionary idea, including the French Revolution. We hold these truths self-evident. We hold these truths self-evident. There was nothing self-evident about that assertion when it was made. It's etched on the wall. All men are created equal, endowed by their Creator. We initially asserted that our rights do not come from a government. They come from the mere fact that we're children of God. We exist. Therefore, we have these rights. We need not ask anyone any of the rights we possess. This new republic went on to assert would not be defined by a single race or religion, but by those inalienable rights that to our founders were self-evident, and they thought self-executed. But it took 13 years to give those asserted rights, 13 years to put these ideas into a document of governance, the Constitution. The Constitution that made our institutions the guarantor, not the deliverer of, but the guarantor of these inalienable rights. It was the vehicle that we constructed here in this city that would enshrine the principles we said we believed in. And unlike any other nation in the world, and that is no hyperbole in that statement, unlike any other nation in the world, the United States is uniquely a product of our political institutions. You cannot define an American by race, religion, ethnicity. You can only define an American by an intuitive commitment to the notion that all men are created equal, endowed by the Creator, and guaranteed by that Constitution. Our Constitution and our adherence to its principles are the reason why we remain the most respected, emulated, revered nation in the world, notwithstanding what you hear today from some others. We lead was criticized most times, totally justifiably. About 12 years ago, when I said in a major speech that we lead the world not by the example of our power, but the power of our example. That is not hyperbole. We lead the world by the power of our example. There's nothing guaranteed about our democracy, though. Nothing guaranteed about self-governance. There's no guarantee that we'll remain the greatest example of freedom and liberty and equality in the history of the world. No guarantee at all. We have to remind ourselves why we've been able to accomplish so much. How did we earn that respect? And how can we maintain it? Just as a generation of revolutionaries before us did. Just like every generation that's followed and will follow. But if you excuse a contemporary comment, the only way this nation can be governed with the consent of the people is we arrive at a consensus. Requires a consensus. Requires compromise. requires reaching out. It requires sometimes overlooking. Someone once said a truly wise parent, I would argue wise government, knows what to overlook as well as to what to look at. Politics today is pulling us apart at the seams. It's gotten worse. Politics has become too negative, too nasty, too petty, too personal. Partisans are not looked at as opponents, but as enemies. We no longer just question the judgment. We spend more time questioning their motive. A very presumptuous thing to do. Cookie's heard me say I learned a lesson early on as a young senator. I did not want to go to the Senate because of an accident that occurred after I was elected. A man named Mike Mansfield, a man who had more integrity in his own finger than most people have in their own body, came to me and said, "You owe it to your deceased wife and your child to be sworn in. Only 1,700, and I think he said 12 had ever been sworn in. Come stay 6 months." So the day I was supposed to be sworn in, as Mike Castle remember, I didn't show up. I stayed in the hospital. I changed my mind. So he sent the Secretary of the Senate to the hospital to swear me in. When I went down, I got an assignment. I thought every freshman senator got an assignment. Once a week, I'd show up in the majority leader's office to report on the assignment I was given. It took me about 3 months to figure out all he was doing, God love him, as my mother would say, was taking my pulse to see how I was doing. One day, in the end of May, following the tradition I had to walk through those doors, double doors, down in the well of the Senate to check when the last vote would be so I know which Amtrak train I could take to get home to see my sons. And Jesse Helms from North Carolina was excoriating. A friend of mine to this day, Bob Dole, and one of my mentors, Teddy Kennedy, for the precursor of the Americans with Disabilities Act. He was talking about it's not a government's obligation to care or deal with the handicapped, etc. So I walked in and sat down for my meeting. And I guess I looked angry. He said, "What's the matter, Joe?" I spoke in a term. And I said, "That Jesse Helms." And I went on to basically say he had no social redeeming value. I didn't understand how he could do what he was doing. He looked at me and he said, "Joe, what would you tell me if I told you that Dot and Jesse Helms 3 years ago were reading the Raleigh Observer in their hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina? There was an advertisement for a young man in steel braces up to his hips, with steel crutches, saying, 'All I want for Christmas is someone to love me.' What would you say if I told you they went and adopted that child?" I said, "I feel foolish." He said, "Well, they did." He said, "I learned a long time ago. Everyone's been sent here was sent because the state found something good about it. It's your job to look for that. It's always appropriate to question the man or woman's judgment, never the motive, because you don't know it." Well, ladies and gentlemen, all we do today seems to question motive. We need to focus on the things that unite us. Focus on what our founders understood, that there was nothing beyond our capability, beyond our capacity. Nothing. Focus on the model that was referenced by a previous speaker. He was on one many. We're so different. We're so different. It's so simple in our aspirations. We have the crucible, the Constitution, was to make those aspirations safe. History has demonstrated when we act as one America, we always do well, no matter who's in charge. Rich, poor, middle class, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, gay, transgender. Those who've been here generations and those the only time we see. One America. Even when it's not easy, which most of the time it's not. Even when there's setbacks, xenophobic attitudes, we always eventually step forward. We've always overcome. But as Martin O'Malley, who I consider a great friend, was an incredible governor. He heard me say this before when he asked me to speak at Fort McHenry's 200th anniversary. I think we're the only country in the world with an anthem, a national anthem, that ends with a question. I don't think there's any other, I may be mistaken, but there's any other anthem in the world that ends with a question. Does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave? That question and its implicit aspiration has echoed through every single perilous moment in America and has helped us endure over the past 2 centuries. Was it still waving in the mist 200 years ago at Fort McHenry? Was it waving 50 years later as the dawn's early light broke over a nation ripped apart by a civil war? Was it waving on the beaches of Normandy, in the mountains of Korea, the jungles of Vietnam, the streets of Fallujah, in the Kunar Valley in Afghanistan? Was it still waving? Was it waving over America when an American stood on the moon, our first responders, Ground Zero? Was it waving when a weary president at Gettysburg or a preacher with a dream with the Lincoln Memorial? Was a wave over every embassy, every forward position, every ship, every man, every woman in the service of America. Every firehouse, ballpark, town, and city in this great nation. The front porches of my house and many of yours, waiting for their return. To state the obvious, thus far the resounding answer is yes. And it will now and forever wave, but only if we hold on to it. Because it's not the flag that we're waving, it's what lives within us. Is it in our heart? Do we really understand and mean what this museum is about to celebrate? The heart of every American is the very idea of America. They don't even know it to articulate it that way. Ask the average person when they leave here, go to lunch or street corner. Why do you have the right to do A, B, C, or D? I'll tell you because the Constitution says it. They've never even read the Constitution. Folks, this is important, not monument, but reminder. We got to fight every damn day. Remind ourselves how we got to where we are. Don't ever think that there's ever anything self-executing about democracy. It lives in this museum, in every movement, every child who's going to walk through this door, in the hand of the parent who believes that he or she can do anything.
you all